Hello and thank you for joining today's video. Today I continue speaking about motivation, and in today's video from the perspective of three needs, social needs: need for power, need for achievement, and need for affiliation and connection. I'm speaking about motivation in the scope of a higher, bigger topic about individual performance. There were a number of videos on individual performance before. If you haven't watched them, you may check the post below, or if you are watching this video on YouTube, you may see the links to all those videos in the description to this video. Just a short reminder: individual performance in organization depends on three major components. These are ability to do the job, and ability includes skills to do the job and personality traits. Secondly, individual performance depends on motivation to do the job. And thirdly, individual performance depends on job organization, job environment. In previous video, I was speaking about ability component, and I started speaking about motivation. In the first part, in the first video on motivation, I was speaking about hierarchy of needs by Maslow, but I looked at it from the perspective of organization, interpreted how it is in the organization. In second part on motivation, I was speaking about psychological needs, need for autonomy, need for competence, and need for relatedness and connection. And today, as I have told, I'm speaking about motivation from the perspective of social needs: need for achievement, need for power, and need for affiliation and connection. Before I deep dive in this topic, I would like to say you that if you do a nice homework as a leader, or if you do it for yourself, if you analyze your abilities, how your abilities comply with the current job position you have, your skills and your personality traits, what is about your motivation and your needs, needs are the basis of motivation. If you do the homework and if you analyze this, it will be easier for you to deal with your team members, to lead them. If you understand their needs, then it will be easier for you to satisfy them. And if you satisfy needs of your team members, their performance will grow. And by satisfying needs of your team members, by aligning their abilities to do the job, you will have a highly performing team, which will have impact on the overall performance of the organization. It will take time. At the beginning, it will take time, efforts. You will need to have conversations, not one conversation, but more conversations with team members before you understand, before your team members speak about this, and before they communicate their needs in a proper way. It will take time. But once you do this job, your homework, then it will be easier. Also, be aware that needs may sometimes change. They will not change drastically, but there may be some shifts there, so continuous conversations are needed. But if you understand this, then you will be a super successful leader and your team will have amazing results. So coming back to social needs, the topic of today's topic. As I told you, there are three social needs: need for power, need for achievement, and need for affiliation and connection. Social needs are the needs that we gain in the process of our life. In previous video, when I was speaking about need for autonomy, need for competence, and need for relatedness and connection, these were psychological needs with which we are born. So they are inside us when we are born. Social needs are the needs that we gain in the process of our life, starting from our birth. The way our parents treat us from our birth, the way they bring us up, then kindergarten, school, high school, peers, friends, relationships, everything, and job experiences. Everything forms us and also forms our social needs. And why it is important to understand those needs? Because by understanding them, it is easier to address them. For example, the same situation may evoke different behaviors, reactions and behaviors and emotions in different people. For example, there is some stressful situation at job, and two types of people may respond to it in a different way. Some people will become cool, they will become very self-controlled, and they will be oriented at managing the situation. These are people who have high need for achievement. People who have low need for achievement, they will be scared, they will be afraid to approach the situation. Or another situation, public speaking. People who have high need for power, they will enjoy in public speaking. They will look forward to this event because they will be able to satisfy their need for power, because while speaking, you kind of influence other people. But people who have high need for affiliation, which means people who want to be approved by others, accepted by others, very often these are people pleasers. So such people, when they need to speak on public, they will be quite anxious, they will feel uncomfortable. So what about these needs, and what are the people with these needs, and how they manifest in behaviors in organization? So people who have high need for achievement, these are people who like autonomy. These are people who like independence. These people like to be responsible for the results, and they like to show their competencies. Speaking about need for achievement, we may look at this from the perspective of competition. And there are three types of competition. The first one is when I, being a high achiever, I have high need for achievement, I compete with myself, which means I want to be better today than yesterday. I want to perform better today than yesterday. I compete with myself. The second type of competition, when I compete with the task. The task is quite difficult and I'm competing with the task. I want to succeed in doing this task. The third type of competition is when I compete with others, with colleagues, with peers, with team members, which means that I want to be better than others. Speaking about the impact of these three types of competition on organization, two first types are very productive for organization in short term and in long term. When I compete with myself, when I want to outperform myself on the continuous basis, this is very, very beneficial for the organization. When I compete with the task, I want to achieve the goal, I want to do the task, it is also very beneficial for the organization. But regarding the competition with others, this is a very tricky situation, and I encourage you to look at this if you have such people in your teams, and to consider the following. People who compete with others, they want to be better than others. So their main focus is to be better than others. And then they have no focus on how they do the job, on how they perform, because it's not main topic here. The main topic is to compete and to outperform others in any way. And this may be quite unhealthy for organization, because the way the job is done matters. And if the job is not done in a proper way, just to have the short-term result, it may be very negative for organization. It may have negative impact for organization, especially in the long run, because there is no orientation on corporate culture of the organization. There is no orientation on the overall strategy, on company goals, but there is orientation on being better than others. Also, speaking about people with the high need for achievement, they have kind of standards of excellence for themselves. They often set these standards of excellence for themselves, and they want to act in accordance with them and also outperform. Whether it is competing with ourselves or competing with the task, there are always these standards of excellence. Sometimes these standards of excellence are set by other people. Here it's also a tricky situation, because very often people who are high achievers, who have high need for achievement, they also have high need for autonomy, the psychological need I was speaking about in the previous video. And those people, they have high need for autonomy. If they get standards of excellence of some goals from other people, then they feel that they don't have autonomy, and then their motivation decreases. So it is very important that these people who are high achievers, they have the feeling that they set those standards themselves or together with their leader. This is crucial for such people. And also, speaking about people with a high need for achievement, these people are very good in doing medium difficulty tasks. These people, when speaking about these medium difficulty tasks, it overlaps with the people I was speaking about in the video about ability and skills. People who are overqualified for some job position have more abilities than needed for their job, and they don't have medium difficulty tasks. So you may, if you have watched this video, you may now think in parallel about these medium difficulty tasks. So when people approach medium difficulty tasks, they are quite enthusiastic, and they're excited to do this job, to do these tasks, because these are challenges for them. And high achievers, they like to overcome challenges, optimal challenges. They feel satisfaction, they anticipate satisfaction that they will receive when they perform, when they do this task, when they manage to solve this medium difficulty challenge. They have hope, they have anticipation, and this is that drives them to do their job. If such people have tasks that are easy for them, they easily become bored, and they have no interest in doing this job, in doing this task. So they may procrastinate a lot. They may do this task for a long time, or they may do it not in a proper way because they do not take efforts, because this is not interesting for them. If high achievers have high difficulty tasks that they perceive as super difficult to achieve or even impossible to achieve, they become anxious, frustrated, and they also don't make and take enough efforts to do this task. So for high achievers, it is extremely important to have medium difficulty tasks. Also, again, you analyze when you listen to this information and watch these videos. If you are a leader, analyze this for your team members and for yourself. Or you may just analyze this for yourself, and you will have many answers to many questions about yourself. Why, for example, sometimes you have no motivation to do some job, why sometimes you procrastinate. These videos may help you to find some answers to these questions. Also, what is important to understand and know about high achievers is that when they do some job, when they have some optimal difficulty task or challenge, they are quite good in being persistent. So they do not give up very quickly. They are so much enthusiastic, and they are so much excited and anticipate satisfaction after doing their job, that it helps them to be quite persistent in what they do. Speaking about people who have low need for achievement, when they face even medium difficulty tasks, they feel anxious and afraid. And instead of approaching this task as the way high achievers do, low achievers have avoidant behavior. They don't want to do this job. They don't want to do this task. Of course, if it is a job, they will do it, but they will always do it with this avoiding behavior. And of course, this will never lead to high results. So it is very important to understand those needs and team members you have in your team to adjust the tasks, the goals and the challenges they are dealing with at job. There are much more. I would like to speak about need for achievement, and not to make this video 1 hour long or 2 hour long. I will talk about need on achievement in another video, in the next week's video. And today I would like to cover also need for power and need for affiliation and connection. So people who have high need for power, they are quite assertive, they want to dominate and they want to influence others. If to explain such people, these people want to adjust the world to their desires and to their plans. And 3 major behavioral patterns that people with high need for power have are to act, to control, and to influence. Because when people with high need for power act, they kind of get this control. They satisfy their need for power by action. When they control, these people maintain their power. And when people influence other people, in this way they spread their power and also maintain. When speaking about the people who have high need of power, for example, Putin is the best example of the person who has high need for power. Action, control, and influence other people. And with the resources he has, and the results are as they are. And by the way, speaking about a need for achievement, one representative of the people with the high need for achievement is Richard Branson. His Virgin Group has more than 400 companies in this group. And high achievers very often are entrepreneurs. They want to have freedom, they want to have independence, and they want to see their results. So these are entrepreneurs. Richard Branson is the best example of the person with the high need for achievement. Speaking about coming back to the people who have high need for power, they want to have high positions for sure, they want to have prestigious things, and they are quite assertive in their communications. Speaking about people with a high need for power, it is quite often when these people use aggression as the tool to get their power or to maintain their power. Very often, due to moral standards, to personal standards, aggression cannot be manifested. People do not manifest aggression, but they have impulses to aggression. For example, they want to beat the table, or when they're in a traffic situation, in some non-regular traffic situation, these people can often shout at other drivers. So these are impulses to aggression to try to gain the power in the situation. There was quite interesting research done on this topic, need for power, and very interesting results were obtained. And there were 2 groups of people that were given certain tasks, and each group had kind of leader in their group, and the leaders were chosen based on their needs for power. One group of people had a leader of the group who had high need for power, and another group had a leader who had not high need for power. So they were given tasks. And in the end, when the time finished, researchers checked the tasks, they analyzed the tasks, evaluated the tasks, and the results were quite interesting. The group that had a leader with the high need for power performed worse than the group with the leader who didn't have high need for power. It showed that people who have high need for power, who are assertive and dominating in the organizations, with their teams, they have negative influence on groups, and the results that I achieved are not as high as they could be if there were no domination and assertiveness. Very interesting research. Also, you may reflect on this regarding you as a leader or leadership and management styles you have in your organization. People who have high need for power are usually directors, teachers or professors, because they can influence other people, priests, diplomats, and sometimes psychologists even. And when taking into consideration this need for power, and from earlier, more traditional perspective, and look at the management and the leadership in this more traditional and earlier form of consideration, the manager from this perspective is a person who has high need for power, low need for affiliation. I will speak about affiliation in a few minutes, and high inhibition or high self-control. So the manager in the traditional paradigm that was valued earlier is the manager who has high need for power, low need for affiliation, so the person doesn't need to be liked by others, and high level of inhibition, high level of self-discipline and self-control. And speaking about current modern paradigm, a leader is the person who has either average need for power or controlled need for power, and the high need for connection with other people. Speaking about controlled need for power, basically it means that leaders need to have relevant soft skills, learn them, develop them, and apply them. Soft skills such as effective communication, giving and receiving feedback in a proper way, empathy, recognition, decision making and problem solving, and other soft skills. If you are interested in training on leadership and managerial skills, corporate training, or training on soft skills for your leaders, for your managers, for your team members, or if you are interested in individual coaching on leadership and managerial skills, on soft skills, feel free to contact me, and I will be glad to answer all your questions regarding our possible cooperation. Also, when looking at the business environments, it is regular that top managerial positions are often occupied mostly by men, not by women. And it may be connected basically with this need for power. Men have, as usual, as a rule, they have higher need for power. And by the way, there is a very nice TED talk on men in management, and I will leave the link to this video in the post to this video, or you can find the link in the description to the video, and I encourage you to watch it and to look at management by men from the perspective, from slightly different perspective maybe. And the last social need is need for affiliation and connection. Basically, these are two different poles, affiliation and connection. Affiliation is the need to be with people, but this need comes out of deficit. I feel lonely, I feel isolated, and I have need to affiliate with other people. Another pole of this need is need for connection. I I feel okay with myself, and I want to connect with other people because it is interesting for me, because I want to grow, because I want to learn new things, because I want to support, because I care. And speaking about this need for affiliation, it is connected with the person's desire to be accepted by others and approved by others. That is why such people often avoid conflicts. They want to be liked by others. They often act even not in accordance with their needs, with their desires, but because they want to get approval. And very often these people are people pleasers. They don't even take into account their own needs, but they take into account only others. This should be also looked at carefully in your organization, in your team, and try to identify if you have such people in the team, because people who have need for affiliation, they may sometimes act not in the interest of your team, not in the interest of the company, but just to satisfy this need for affiliation. So try to address this and try to satisfy this need in a way that it is not negatively impactful for the team, for the organization, but the person has this need satisfied in some other way. And people who have a high need for connection, they basically are very supportive. And if you have such people in your team, if you have such team members, you can have really many benefits from them, because they can help you grow the team. And speaking also about people who have high need for affiliation, there was made a research on this about people who have high need for affiliation, and there were two groups. They were put in two situations. Researchers told to both groups that people from both groups will receive electroshocks. One group was told that electroshocks will be very, very low intensity. They will even not feel that. And the second group was told that they will receive electroshocks of high intensity, and they will feel them, and they will be painful. And interestingly, the people from the first group, they continued acting and waiting the way they were doing it before. So everyone was busy with himself or herself. In the group where researchers told that people will receive high intensity electroshocks, they started affiliating with each other, talking to each other, forming groups, and trying to be together. Which means that in stressful situations, when people feel anxiety, when people feel fear, they try to affiliate and to be with the group, to conform with the group. This is very important for organization to know from the perspective of how it is in the organization, because when people in your organization, in your team, are afraid or are anxious, very often it is connected with some changes in the organization or in the team, and people don't know all information, they're anxious, they have fear. So in such situations, people try to affiliate. And even people who were not good with each other before, they are now affiliated. And in the group, they act against the changes, for example, that are going to be in the organization. So if you have such situation, if you expect that there will be some changes in your organization, try to also consider this and take this into account. Change management is a completely different topic, and I might talk about this in my future videos, because it's very complex, and it should be approached in a very complex way. So this is it for today. In my next video I will continue talking about need for achievement and how it is manifested, how it can be looked at and considered and taken into account in your organization. If you would like to receive videos on time, I encourage you to subscribe to the newsletter. You can use the subscription form below if you are watching this video in my blog. If you are watching this video in YouTube, you may find the link to my web in the description to the video and find the subscription form on the bottom of each page. Hope that this video was useful and practical for you. In case of any questions, feel free to contact me, and see you in the next video.